Hidden Golem Games. Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome to the Opinionated Drafter series, the first installation of which they were talking about the Vintage Cube updates, circa Tarkir Dragonstorm. And if you watched my one video where I didn't know if it was going to be 6 yearly updates or 4, the answer is 6 apparently, because they're doing one with each set, which tracks. Some of the biggest updates I've already done a read through, and I'm not reacting to this blind, just full disclosure. They're cutting domain. Not all the domain. Leyline Binding is staying in. And they're also leaving in Territorial Kavu, but they're cutting Tribal Flames, Neshoba Brawler, and Scion of Draco. Do I like this? Not fully. I thought domain was pretty strong. I thought people didn't love drafting it, which meant you could slot into it sometimes. But because of that same reason, I do understand why they're cutting it. People were scared of it. They talked about General Affairs Rockrick sticking around and how he's seen actually a surprisingly high win rate, which I expected. It's a very strong card. Leovold and Slimefoot and Squee are coming back in. Well, Leovold's coming back in, and Slimefoot and Squee is getting added. Leovold's been in the LSV cube for a while, and the Power Mac cube. It's been in a lot of people's cubes. This is not a shocking include. Slimefoot and Squee has seen some intriguing stuff. People like it. It can see some really potent stuff in sort of being a recurable blocker, or just a creature you can sacrifice, and just also being kind of aggressive. It's not my favorite. I think there are cards that should go in over it, but I think it's worth it giving a try. And it's seen some success in Canadian Highlander and other stuff, which I think is a very good one-to-one with what's going to be successful in Vintage Cube. Hogak coming out. Great. I think Hogak itself should have been out for a while. I actually mind losing Survival and Bazaar. I think they were really interesting. And I'd be intrigued to see a cube that was able to make better use of Survival. Maybe not Bazaar, but at least Survival with some more creature combo stuff. And sort of teaching the players that play Vintage Cube but maybe don't have the knowledge of Canadian Highlander or older Legacy and stuff. About how to run creature combo and how those decks can succeed. So Survival's I'm a little sad to see go, but Hogak and Bazaar, and they're also cutting. I'll get to it in a minute, but the two draw Satyr Wayfinder. There we go. They're cutting Satyr Wayfinder because it sort of supports this package. I think those are fine to come out. Rafellos, Corsair, Crewfix, Primetime. I think these are really interesting. I like Corsair, Crewfix. You know me, I'm a lands guy. Prime Titan, Prime Time, or Primeval Titan is a great card. Should definitely be very viable. I don't think it needs to be in. I don't think if it's not in your cube, I don't think it's like you should be playing Primetime in your cube. But I do think it offers some great utility, and especially when you're running Dark Depths combo in your cube, or just some other powerful lands, Primetime's a great way to sort of ramp that up a little bit. I'm not a fan of running the Valakut package, but I think you even can run the Valakut package if you really want to. And Rafellos is an incredibly fast accelerating card. It does encourage running closer to mono green, or green splashing some other thing, but it's a great card. Don't sleep on Rafellos. We're seeing some cards added from Tarkir Dragonstorm. I don't necessarily think we're seeing all the right cards added. This is a part where you'll see me get a little more like, I think Tersa Light Shatter sucks. I think the card is not good enough. I think there are so many better 3/3s for 3. Yes, it filters 2 cards, but it's rummaging. It's not even looting. You're discarding the cards first. The late game effect, you don't get any selection in it, and you don't get it for free, meaning if you hit something and you didn't really plan, or like, you can't plan with it, and you don't get a huge increase in value with it. I just think it loses a lot of potential. If it cast the card for free or something, or let you select, I think it would be a little bit more viable. But overall, I just don't think Tersa Light Shadow is good enough. Elspeth and Voice, we'll talk about the 2 white cards now, they rule. I think these cards are incredibly potent. Elspeth, I think, is the best of the Elspeths to be adding in. The fact it can jump your whole board to just kill somebody. It can act as removal for an important card, so it can stick around. Anything in a Boros deck as a top end that's going to kill your opponent's Reanimator card I think, has a place. That's not necessarily true, but I think it's a good card. And the fact it just poops out 2 blockers every turn just keeps it alive. It's just good, and it synergizes with the other cards. Voice of Victory, awesome. I think this card rules. It's not the strongest thing ever. I play with it a little bit now in Vintage, and I play with it a little bit in Standard. Not Vintage, actually. Vintage Cube. And I think the card has potential. The fact it starts immediately getting in for 3. It synergizes with Elspeths. It synergizes with Dies triggers. it's just good. And the fact they sack at the beginning of the next end step means you can clamp them. Like, they don't die immediately at the end of combat. There's all sorts of synergy there. Ugin is badass. So, let's go look at Ugin really quickly. 7 drop, 7 loyalty planeswalker. Colorless, so it can go in a lot of stuff. It can go in your big green, it can go in your big blue, like your artifacts deck at the top end. You can cast it off channel. I'll get to that in a minute. Whenever you cast it, exile up one target permanent that's one or more colors, and whenever you cast a colorless spell, exile another target permanent that's one or more colors. So it's really, really good in the artifacts deck where you can sort of play it, and then immediately zero it and cast out like 2 smaller artifacts and destroy 2 more of their things, right? That's terrifying. It'll just immediately starts uptaking, goes to 10, that's almost impossible to kill without a kill spell or an overwhelming board. And then its ult is also game-winning. It's just a tinker for all your artifacts for free, right? Or your Eldrazi. Like, this card is great. And you cast them, so you get your Eldrazi cast triggers. Ugin is going to be incredibly strong if you can cast it. I do think there's some concern with just... It is a bomb that is not an artifact. You can't tinker for it, and you need to be able to cast it, and you can't workshop it out, right? So it needs to be cast off a channel, or just a big amount of mana, and you can't... It's not even like an Eldrazi that you can Through the Breach, or Corpse Dance, or Sneak Attack, that's the other one, in. So there is a little bit of concern that it's not going to be played that much. And I think that that's okay. I think it's a card that's a bomb that we can leave in, and it'll be good. And it's just not going to go in every deck, and it's not going to get played in every draft that it's seen. I think that's fine. I think cards like that are okay. I'm excited to see this one. I'm excited to try to draft channel with it. Looking at the change list itself, we have another card from Dragonstorm coming in that they didn't specifically call out here, which is Clarion Conqueror. It is a 3-mana, 3/3 flyer that turns off artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers. Fairly impactful. I do think White wants its artifacts and creatures to be able to activate their abilities. It's their Mother of Runes is, your Moxen. Like, you just... It can be a hit. I don't know if this card is going to be the best in all the decks, and I think that sometimes it's just not going to see play. But I think it's in a similar place to 2-mana Thalia, where it's just sometimes you draft, you go, no, this isn't what I want to be doing. And I don't think Steel Seraph's a big loss to be doing that. Usher the Fallen is getting a pretty much direct upgrade in Descendant of Storms. Yes, there is the little bit of a change where you can boast at any time during your turn, not just during the attack trigger. But you get a lot more versatility, a little bit of ability to push damage. And I think that's fine. Savine's Wreck coming out for Elspeth. We already talked about Elspeth. I think Savine's Wreck really underperformed. I never saw it really do anything interesting without any of the tutors that put stuff in bin like Gifts or Intuition, which I think would be interesting to see in the cube. Savine's Wreck never really had a place. I'd love to see a situation where we see Intuition and Gifts come in and see Savine's Wreck come back. I think that would be an interesting combo place to see. And I'll get to that in a minute, because I think there's a card that should not be in here. Skyseeker's Chariot has finally left. It was here for oh so short of a time, but that was too much time already. This shit should not have been in. I understand what we were going for. It was bad. Never have it return. Goodbye, Skyseeker's Chariot. We will not miss you. Get Lost rules. It should have been in. This is a premium piece of removal. That's great. Esper Sentinel is leaving for Voice of Victory. I don't love that. I think that Esper Sentinel is better than Voice of Victory. I think Voice of Victory is good, but the fact that Esper Sentinel just fucking gets down on 1 and can immediately start generating advantage off their Moxen or their cantrips or even the removal spell that kills it. Like, it gets value, and I don't think that Esper Sentinel should be cut. Kitsa for Flood Pit Drowner I think is reasonable. Kitsa with some redundancy that wasn't super necessary. We never really saw the copy target instant sorcery thing come up too much, although it could occasionally. And it was just a decent looter, but I don't think that's irreplaceable, and Flood Pit Drowner is reliably good. Kiora's coming out, which I find a little sad. I really think that Kiora was solid in the cube and was scary. This card demanded an answer right away or was going to start just fucking murdering you. So, I would like to see Kiora come back in, but I'm not sad to see True Name come in. People sleep on True Name all the time. This card just wins games out of nowhere sometimes. You're playing against a Boros player and they're like, oh fuck, I have nothing that can kill that in my whole deck. Guess they just get to win they get to trade positively every time I attack them. They have a wall for my biggest thing, and I'm a little bit fucked, right? Like, this card just can act as a perfect wall, and in, like, control matchups and stuff, can act as just killing a motherfucker. Tornado Nemesis rocks. I'm happy to see it back in. Profs is coming out. Profs is bad. It should not have been in the cube. I understand why it was in there. There was some justification on, like, oh, card draw mid-rangey shenanigans with blue. The ninjas sort of style stuff with Flood Pits, Drowner, True Name, Kaito, that sort of thing, is better, I think, in the mid-rangey blue. And Profs was just never really good. You almost never wanted to play it. But Turnabout is also bad. I get that High Tide's back in. We're doing some stuff with trying to do some Stormy shenanigans with blue. I don't think Turnabout's good. I don't think it should be in the cube. I think we should cut it for something more interesting. Evolved Sleeper's coming out. That's fine. This card was very medium. It was always in sort of like the last 5 cards in your black deck. Wasn't very good. Corsi Revenant, I think, is a much better card. I think it's more interesting. There's cooler gameplay around it. Cool. I'm a fan. Grim Lavamancer, eating it. Actually don't love this one. We're adding in another elf, and we're adding in some other smaller creatures. And I think Grim Lavamancer actually had a place in that. So, I would have loved to see how Grim Lavamancer performed over this next iteration. But I also think it's been falling off for a while, as they call out here. And Corey Steelcutter kicks ass. As many people on the internet are saying, Bitter Blossom never died, it simply changed forms. But no, this card rules. You basically have to make a 1/1 every turn if you're a deck that's double spelling, and it can have an aggressive element to it too, with the Trample and Haste immediately getting in. Their Prowess tokens, which is relevant, and it's just a good card. Corey Steelcutter, I mean, if you haven't seen his performance in Standard, and even in like Modern and stuff, this card rules. Goblin Cradlemaker is dying for Embereth Shieldbreaker. I actually disagree with this. I think that Goblin Cradlemaker is a better Magic the Gathering card. The fact that it can kill Eldrazi and kill creatures, in addition to killing artifacts like Embereth Shieldbreaker, makes it a better card. They've called out Embereth Shieldbreaker as being a sort of more iconic card in terms of like, more recognizable card, not iconic. Cratermaker is more iconic. Let's not do our boy any harm here. But Shieldbreaker is definitely a like more modern card that people know and are like understand. It's simpler to understand, so they want to bring it in. I disagree with that personally, but it's fine. Tribal Flames is dying with the domain stuff. We talked about that. I think that's fine. Again, I don't think Tersa Light Shadow. This art's sick. Haven't seen this art yet. This art is awesome, but I don't think the card is that good. I would love to see any number of other things over it. I'd love to see the Mardu Siegebreaker, the 4-drop, like 1-in Mardu for a 4/4 with Haste Death Touch that eats a thing and then makes a copy of it whenever it attacks. I would love to see any number of sort of decent 3-drop red cards. Or even 2 drops. We have a lot of good red 3-drops. I'd love to see some decent red 2-drops. I'd even love to see like a Goblin Guide or something, dude. Like, this card I just don't think is very good. There. That's my take. Initial Brawl is coming out with the domain stuff. Discussed already. Courser Crufex is coming in. Again, supporting that lands sort of shenanigans. They talk about Fast Bond here. I was about to bring that up. It does allow for Fast Bond to go kind of harder in the paint, which I think is good. People are low on Fast Bond. They fucking shouldn't be. And we're going to get to something that I'm mad as hell about in a second. Seder Wayfinder's coming out. Already talked about that. And they're bringing back in Findhorn Elves. They cut this an iteration ago for something. I don't remember what. And I went, why are we doing this? We have Cradle in already. And we just brought in big guy. Craterhoof Behemoth, right? We just brought in Craterhoof Behemoth. We're doing all sorts of big green stuff. Now we've brought in Primetime. I think Findhorn Elves should be in. Makes Cradle better, makes Nadu decks better. There's just a great place to be playing Elves in Cube right now. Force of Vigor is coming out. I agree with this decision. It was a sideboard card that didn't see much play, and you never really wanted to draft early. Heritage Reclamation is not what we should be replacing it with. I do not think this card is good enough. I think it will also just be I take it and I put it in my sideboard and I bring it in for a specific matchup, unless I got fucked on my colors or something, right? I think it's going to be the same exact thing. How about we cut cards that were like, we're cutting this as a sideboard card for cards that aren't sideboard cards, maybe. Just my opinion, but Survival's coming out. Again, I talked about how I'd love to see this in sort of a more creature combo heavily oriented cube, but I do think it makes sense to cut it while they're sort of trying to push away from the Hogak style of things, and Nature's Lore is coming in, which I think is fine. Getting a Forest Untapped can allow for some interesting double spelling. We're not seeing that much Flurry actually coming in, so it's not as important with the new stuff. But, again, double spelling's still good, just as I got to do 2 things. And it can also go get Triomes and stuff to fix your colors. Aganosaur Rex. Good work, buddy. Oh, the card's not going to come up. It's still not going to come up. Oh, okay, it's coming up. Woo! Why aren't we using Scryfall? I know it's because it's all the Wizards' official site, but Scryfall is way more responsive. Anyway, 5 mana, 8/8 Trampler. When you cycle it, put 2/1 counters on a target creature or vehicle against Trample and Indestructible, and then you draw a card, of course, because you cycled something. The card is really solid. I think people slept on it a little bit, but also it doesn't do anything really special, and I think replacing it with Primetime, which is what they're replacing it with, makes sense. Replace it with a big green creature that has a really big board impact on ETB and immediately demands response. This one is fucking wrong. Sylvan Library. If you don't know Sylvan Library, wow, people are younger than me? That's crazy. If you don't know Sylvan Library, 1 and a green, enchantment. You basically, each turn, get to draw 2 extra cards, and you can either keep them in hand by paying 4 life, or you can put them back. It lets you sort of dig a little deeper, draw extra cards for life, and it also lets you set up your future turns. It's incredible. This card is very, very good. People don't know how to use Sylvan Library and die with it a lot, and they don't cut it from their decks against aggro enough, and they don't include it in their decks in the right places. This card is very easily misunderstood. And so that's part of the reason I'm talking about cutting it, is that people don't play it correctly. And I think that's bullshit, and I think it's very similar to the Goblin Crater Maker Ember Shieldbreaker, but even more so. I don't think Raphaelis is bad. Raphaelis should definitely have come in. I think that's super cool. This was a mistake to cut. I would like to see it brought back. Sylvan Library is great. Hear me. This card is good. I know it's not as good as it used to be, but it's very good still. Up the Beanstalk's getting cut. That's good. This card, speaking of cards that were not played right, this card was not played right. It just was very hard to put in anything. I think this card was very similar to Ketramos, where putting it in your deck and drafting it, first of all, and then putting it in your deck, both required you to spend the pick and spend the slot in your deck, right, for a card that only gets there some of the time in both drafting and in gameplay. So what do I mean by that? There are cards that only get there sometimes in drafting. Drafting keys, let's say, right? Drafting, like, Manifold Key to hope you get Grim Monolith or something, right? Or drafting a part of a combo, okay? Or drafting Sneak Attack or Reanimate, right? And then those cards get there in gameplay when you either assemble the combo or you assemble the synergy or you get a creature to go with them. But they have a high impact when they work, right? So they have an opportunity cost in drafting them of you might not get there. They have an opportunity cost in running them of I need to assemble multiple pieces of this. But then they have a high board impact. Ketramos and Up the Beanstalk have a high opportunity cost in drafting them of I might not get the stuff to even put this in my deck. They have an high opportunity cost of putting them in your deck where if I don't draw these with their synergy pieces, it's kind of a dead card. At least Up the Beanstalk replaced itself, but especially with Ketramos, it was bad. And then their payoff in game is like, I get to draw an extra card or 2. It was not worth it. They were not good includes. They didn't have nearly enough support to make that work. And you couldn't rely on building your deck around them. I definitely get why these cards were tried. I do not think that they made sense, and I think they deserve to be cut. Ketramos, we're going to get to in a second, it was cut. I think that's good. I think they are cards that were a mistake to put in and led to shenanigans. Figure of Destiny, I think I remember when this got cut, but I'd kind of forgotten it got cut because it's in everybody else's cube. Why is this gone? This card's great. Leave Figure of Destiny the fuck alone. We're cutting Elegant Parlor for Sunbillow Verge. This gets into a philosophy thing for me. I think it makes sense logically with Domain leaving a little bit, and with Boros being so aggressive, and like Boros aggro being such a highly supported archetype. I don't love cutting Elegant Parlor for 2 reasons, though. So I get it. I get why they're doing it. But and I think it's fine, but I have two conceptual reasons. The first one is cutting fetchable duels from Boros, a deck that really needs its fetchable duels, is bad. It's bad for the deck. It hurts it. 1 second. The second thing is I like consistency in my mana base in a cube. For a cube that's me and my pals, my home cube, the people that I know super well, I can have a super curated cube that has, like, Glacial Fortress and Sunbillow version. There's reasons for all the cycling lands from Amonkhet and whatever I want, right? And we understand everything that's in the cube, and so we understand the archetypes. And we understand why things are the way they are. If I'm coming to this cube new, and I see that the Thundering Falls is in, and I would automatically make the assumption, usually, oh, the Surveillance are in this cube. If I see a Plateau, I'm going to assume all the duels are in. I'm not going to assume there's just, like, Plateau and Tiger. There's not just all the red duels, and we left out the rest of them because we didn't like them. So it's a little bit of a philosophy thing where I feel like keeping the mana bases consistent across colors, is good. And cutting it, I think, feels a little bit weird to me. I do understand why we're doing it, but I think there's a little bit of an issue with it. Cutting Hogak for Pillage the Bog, that's great. Pillage the Bog's an amazing card. It can act as a demonic tutor in a lot of situations. Oh, I skipped one, but we'll get back to that one. And with Chain being in now, I think that it's very good. Like, Golgari Chain is a great deck. A great combo, and it's great to put in your deck. Duelist Mind is being cut, just like, Prophecy. Eidetic Memory before it. This is a good cut. These cards I don't think are very good. I don't think they do enough. I'm glad to see them gone. Urtai Resurrected is fine. I'm fine to see it in the cube. It's not my favorite. I think there's better includes over it, but Urtai is a fine include. Ketramos is leaving. I just talked about that. Had a whole little rant. Good fucking riddance. See you in Modern. Lutri is back. Good. Lutri's fun to play with. It's cool. It sees a lot of, like, utility. And especially with, what's her name? Kitsa leaving, I'm happy to see Lutri back in. I think that gives some interesting options to the Time Walk and Ancestral decks. Cool. Bazaar is leaving. Again, we talked about that. I think Bazaar actually has some high upside potential, but Restless Vinestock, I think, is a fine include and can do some really potent stuff with some small tokens, with, like, Nadu-type decks, so like the Simic Lands decks, and they talk about being able to find stuff off Sowing Mega Spawn Golos in prime time. I think that's fake. I think the situations you're like, let me go find a Restless Vinestock, start killing my opponent with off my Primeval Titan, are very few and far between. I don't disagree that they'll never happen, but I'm just like, eh. But I still think Restless Vinestock's a fine include. We're cutting Bring to Light Velki and replacing it with Leovold Slimefoot. That's fine. Bring to Light Velki has done me wrong on numerous occasions, but I do like it. I think it's a very powerful combo that offers some really interesting stuff. But womp womp, what are you going to do? They decided to try something different out, and I think Leovold should have been in the cube for a while now. Soul Guide versus Relic, I don't care. It's a fine change. It does not matter to me at all. I actually kind of do prefer Relic a little bit. So Soul Guide only hits your opponent's graveyard, so lets you keep your own graveyard around. And it lets you sack it to draw a card, and it eats something when it ETBs. Relic has a different feature, where when you hit the graveyards, you draw, and also can eat graveyards incrementally. I think Relic actually has some really interesting synergy with being able to keep Delve cards under control, be able to keep Oculus under control, be able to fuck up people trying to recur, things like Ancestral, where you just incrementally keep eating their graveyard. I actually prefer Relic a little bit. I think it's a little cooler. I wish we kept it in, but they only swapped it for Ketramos, apparently, so I got the change back, but I actually prefer Relic. I think in the modern day, Relic has some more interesting interaction. Cutting Scion with the domain stuff, and Ugin's coming in. So overall, we didn't see too many changes from Dragonstorm. We're seeing 7 cards added, I think, which is a good amount, but it's not a ton, and I think that's reasonable. I do think that there's some commander cards that have been interesting to try, but nothing crazy. And overall, I think this is a change for the better. I don't agree with 100% of the changes, and the only one that I super disagree with, though, is library. Let's bring library back, and just, if people draft it and get fucked, that's their problem. Don't draft cards that you're gonna die to if you don't understand how to use them. But I do get it. I think the changes are good. I'm really intrigued to see how Ugin's gonna perform, to see how Elspeth's gonna perform. I'm happy to see True Name back. I'm happy to see Steel Cutter in. Happy to see Primetime back. Happy to see Leovold back. Happy to see Lutri back. Some great stuff. And overall, thank you for joining me on this little iteration of the Opinionated Drafter. If you have any thoughts, share them with me in the comments. Let me know. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Helps me know that people like what I'm doing. And if you have any other suggestions about what I should be doing, tell me. I'll probably have another little iteration of this after I try it out a bit. Or maybe I'll just wait to post this until I try it out a bit. We'll see. I guess you'll know. I won't, because I'm not in the future right now. But, yeah. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.